Hi, I'm Bill Logan. I'd like to invite you to get out your paddle, get comfortable, and join us for a delightful trip down the beautiful Suwanee River. We'll begin by showing you a combination of two trips into the beautiful Okefenokee swamp, the headwaters of the Suwannee. Those two trips were our video equipment test runs before undertaking the 200-mile trip down the river. On some of the Okefenokee footage, you'll notice camera movement as the paddler strokes his paddle. This is due to the fact that on our first trip, the camera was firmly mounted to the bow of the canoe. Though some of the crew said they liked it, we decided we better shoot a second handheld test to compare. After comparing, we've made the decision to hand-hold for the rest of the trip down the river. At the end of our 16-day trip, we had used 5 2-hour tapes. Wanting you to see as much of this beautiful river as possible, I can tell you it was extremely difficult editing and reducing it all into one tape. It's been my experience that each time that you view it, you'll always see something that you missed before. So reviewing it probably would be very beneficial. For those who wish for more facts on this river, a book is also available of the same name as this tape, with just about all the information that you might need to plan your trip, including paddling times, important phone numbers, resupply points, where there's campsites and where not, and the campgrounds and much more. It should be available from your dealer, but if not, by calling 407-636-4949. So here we go. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your trip. We're going down the river. You're sitting right behind the camera, and you paddle on the left and I'll paddle on the right. When leaving the marina at the Stephen Foster Recreational Area, it's approximately 3 blocks down this lagoon to the main part of the swamp. It's quite common to meet other canoers anywhere in the swamp. Many of the gators that we saw would hit the water right away, but some would hold steady and refuse to move, almost as if they were hoping that we'd get too close. But it was great for pictures. A beautiful day. Almost no breeze or warm sun, water like glass, superb reflections. The only sound we heard were the birds back in the swamp. It was a great day, wonderful feeling. Since there's little hard ground in the swamp, the Park Service has built these kiosks at strategic locations along the canoe trail for a place to picnic, stretch, or even camp if you're a permit holder. They're quite nice actually, and have a large overhanging roof. However, the space is rather limited since the floor is only about a 12 by 12. This young man wandered right up to us in broad daylight and proceeded to check out our van. When he didn't find anything, he soon left disgusted, but he was a great photo subject. He's what we call a city slicker campground critter. Bold as they come, very experienced, going through the whole camp one side at a time. He looked as if he hadn't missed a meal in his whole life. We edited out almost as much of this as we left in. We got lucky when we spotted this pretty little fella hiding in the brush. So we waited with camera in hand, hoping he'd come out. Sure enough, he did. Gave us a rare treat. These little guys are extremely shy, and it's rare one is caught on camera. Never before in my whole life had I ever had an opportunity to get this close to any fox. While camped at the Stephen Foster Recreational Area Campground the second morning of our trip, we got up early and noticed that 3 deer were feeding right at the edge of our campsite. We were just leaving our campsite in the Stephen Foster campground, headed for the marina, when we spotted this big fellow hiding in the ditch, inside the campground. My guess was that he's hoping to have somebody's dog for breakfast. This old grandpa was just hoping that we'd come a little bit closer. To a neophyte, he looks like he's sound asleep, but I assure you that he is very awake and watching every move we make. I've canoed many areas in my time, but I have to say I don't recall any more being as mysterious or as beautiful. There's always something new to see right around the next bend. Just feast your eyes on this scenic wonder, isn't it beautiful? This trip was a working trip, so we left our tackle behind, and I can't wait to get back here to drop a lure around some of those lily pads and cypress trees. I know there's got to be a monster in there somewhere. Come on, come a little closer. I dare you. This was one of our campground critters at night. He kept saying, "Kibbles and bits, kibbles and bits, kibbles and bits." Strange. This is Billy's Island. It's one of the few high ground islands in the swamp, and the most famous. It's also the only one to have a dock. A guided boat tour stops here daily. It's a super place for a family to come and picnic and enjoy the outdoors. Beautiful. In the 20s and 30s, over 600 people lived on Billy's Island, with several hundred houses, stores, churches, and even a theater. There's little left today that hints of its rich past, but people travel for hundreds of miles to enjoy the hiking, picnic, and sightseeing on this beautiful island. As I had mentioned earlier, it's quite common for you to see canoers in the swamp. Everybody seems to get out and enjoy it. You don't need to worry about getting lost because there's plenty of people around. We're on our way out of the swamp. Remember, there's plenty to see and do here, and lots of wildlife to be seen. If you don't do anything foolish, they won't be any threat to you whatsoever. I hope you've enjoyed our trip. We're now leaving the swamp so you can get out and stretch. Don't get your feet wet. Okay, we're loading up here. We're going to leave our vehicles here for security purposes. Davey and David are going to take us, the owners of the outpost are going to transport us, our canoes and everything over to Fargo, Georgia. We planned on putting in at the Okefenokee, but the sill at the south end was closed to traffic, so we had to put in here. We were forced to unload our stuff in the little picnic ground here right next to the bridge in Fargo. We had to use that since the river was up too high to camp on the sandbar. At that point, the Logan trucks 100 yards away and a primary freight train line about a half of a block from us kept us awake all night. In our haste unloading, we threw all of our equipment into one big pile. It took us quite a while to get it all sorted out. And this is the motley crew. They jokingly titled us Logan's Heroes. I was flattered. Anyway, it was a good crew. We had a good time. One of our crew members had a bad leak at the start of the trip, and we were forced to make emergency repairs before we even got started. And off we go. The first night we put down early in a nice little campsite on the left, about 14 miles downstream. Clean, spacious, and we didn't have to listen to the doggone logging trucks run all night. We slept like babies. After supper, we built our first campfire, and it was a pretty good one. In no time at all, the sea stories started. We all bonded as if we had known each other for many years. That became our ritual for the rest of the trip. Bonfire every night. Since Randy was running the front here, he had to do the videoing, and he had never had a video camera in his hand before, and I had to point him at everything. But considering he never had one in his hand, he did a pretty good job. At the Big Shoals Rapids, the Portage Trail is wide, clean, and easy to navigate. And you'll see the rapids that we're portaging around in the next shot. This is the Suwanee River's main rapids. This is Big Shoals. These rapids are the largest in the state, and they're extremely dangerous due to the sharp, jagged rocks just under the surface. If you're not an extremely advanced canoer and running empty, I highly recommend that you don't attempt to run these. You can destroy a canoe here in the bat of an eye. We saw evidence of several unlucky souls who were foolish enough to try. They're pieces of their canoes downstream. Play it safe, portage. The actual portage distance here turned out to be less than a quarter of a mile. Watch these kayakers having fun here.
Down with old Milwaukee.
These are local experienced canoers, and they're in a special canoe and running empty. Watch closely and listen to the roar of the rapids. That was some ride. Let's see that again. Due to the fast water, slick bank, and no place to load, we had to load the canoes before launching, then enter on some tree roots down below the launch area. You'll see that in another segment here in a minute.
Spinning around, huh? It's the fourth morning. We're launching our canoes. A little bit of a job. And we had one of our men had to return home last night under emergency. So we have his canoe to tow with us. We're trying to make these preparations now.
This is the second set of rapids. Bear in mind now that the water here is about 4 foot above normal, and these rapids were easy to run and a lot of fun. However, I would think that when the water's down less, it would be a lot more of a problem. Watch this canoe bounce off the right bank. Quite often we run into these large springs coming right up into the riverbed, and it would kick you off either to the left or to the right. The water was ice cold since this was filmed in early April, but it felt wonderful to be clean again. The Suwannee River has got some of the most beautiful camping spots I have ever seen on any river. You'll see lots of these beautiful sugar sand sandbars along the way. We won't talk about them, but we'll put them up so you can see them. They are gorgeous.
All the way.
Well, we left Fargo, Georgia Thursday. Yeah. Pretty. Is he a Pomeranian? Yes, sir. He's a pretty little fella. Well, you got a nice campsite. We're right hung up in the middle of the spring. You're okay. 20 minutes later, we came up on another beautiful sugar sand sandbar. This one was really nice, and we were getting a little tired, so we decided to get out here and stretch and have lunch. Oh, it's peanut butter and pepperoni time. Suwannee Springs has no sign actually on the river, but you can recognize it by its really nice stone stairway. Suwannee Springs was a very famous resort back in the 20s. Not much left now, but the grounds are still pretty. The only thing that's generally left here is the wall that holds out the water from the river. But it is pretty in here.
First leg.
At the Spirit of the Suwannee campground, Van's little trailer came in real handy to carry all our gear up to the campsite. We put the ramp and pictures of the campground in here on purpose, just so that you could see how nice the campground is. As you can see, the Spirit of the Suwannee campground is really pretty. It's in a wooded area, well maintained, with a monstrous outdoor amphitheater where some of the biggest names in country and gospel music come here to perform. They have clean restrooms, laundry, showers, lots of hot water. This is one campground I can't say enough good about. Okay, this is about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're starting the second 70-mile leg of the trip. Real shallow up there. Real shallow.
Might be up there in the tree somewhere, but you won't show
That old tree in it.
There he is.
No, we got it. Here's another one of those gorgeous sugar sand sandbars that I was telling you about. They're everywhere on this river. Just beautiful. Great campsites. On real cool mornings, we would wake up to some very interesting mists on the river. Now let's lighten up the trip a little bit. This is Lafayette Blue Springs. It's a nice little campground. They have nice clean restrooms, hot showers. The cost is only $2.50 a person, and it's a real nice little place. At the springs, there's a bridge across here. Remembering now the water's a little high, but this is a natural bridge, so the area underneath goes right through. The main spring's on the left. Comes under the bridge and goes out to the river. It's a real neat little campsite with picnic tables and running water. Not far below Lafayette Blue Springs, we came upon a piece of Florida history. This is the Drew Drawbridge, built in the early 20s. It was the second railroad built in Florida and was abandoned shortly thereafter. A silent sentinel of the past. About 9 miles north of Brantford, we put down for the weekend. We had been warned about the extra high boat traffic on the river north of Brantford. So this was a nice little sight. This is where the owl in the next shot lit in the tree right above us. On the lower river, we didn't see many gators, but this was a big guy. On this night, we camped directly across from the Santa Fe River. We were hit with a real bad storm. We probably got about 3 inches of rain. This area is where the Santa Fe empties directly into the Suwannee. In my opinion, this is one of the most scenic parts of the trip. I really enjoyed this. Just look at these beautiful cypress trees. Aren't they pretty? Now this is what I call bass country. By the way, we caught some real nice bass in here too, that same evening. About 14 miles below Brantford, there's a lot of nice homes down in here. At the Highway 340 bridge, there's a real nice ramp, and at the top of the ramp, there's an excellent grocery store for resupplying. Below the 340 bridge, the river really widens out here. We passed Coranto Springs Campground without stopping. It looked great. Looked like it had some real nice facilities. This is Suwanee Village Campground, a nice little area for pulling the canoes up. Has room for 30 or 40 tents if you had to. Real nice campsite, and it's right beside the river, easy to get to. If you focus on center screen here, you'll see another big gator sliding into the water. This guy must be at least 8 or 10 foot. This is Udall Lodge. They have a ramp here, and it's very pretty. It's a nice little campground. The air is real still, quiet. You can hear the birds singing. We're setting up here to have our lunch. It was here that we decided to go ahead and canoe by moonlight, since we had a full moon this night. This is one of only 2 mileage signs that we saw on the whole river. This one is at Hart Springs. This is Hart Springs Campground. According to the sign back at Udall Lodge, this is the only legal campground in this particular county that you can camp on the river. It appears that it to be real flat, lots of space, and has concrete picnic tables, good ramp, sandy beach for canoes. This is beginning our moonlight run. The moon was full, beautiful. We had 0 mosquitoes. Since the river was wide and straight here, we're gliding down the center. Our visibility was a good mile or more. It was wonderful. The moon is full, and I just loved it. Everybody loved it. I highly recommend that you try it. The river was real wide, the moon was up. It was really pretty. Too bad that our camera wasn't able to capture some of the moonlight shot, but it sure was nice. We said, it don't get any better than this. The people on the pontoon boat were from Vero Beach. They had just come down the river, and they were attempting to travel all the main rivers in Florida. Unable to locate a campsite last night at 11 o'clock, we spotted the Suwannee Gables Motel and Marina, and that's where we stayed for the night. Right around the corner, we pulled into Fannin Springs here to take a look. It was really pretty in here. Worth the stop. I highly recommend it. There's hundreds of mullet in this crystal clear water. Watch this turtle take off like a rocket ship. Two or 3 miles below Fannin Springs, and it's a beautiful day. The river has widened up to almost a 1/4 of a mile here. This is a dock for motorized boats. Only canoes are allowed up inside Manatee Springs. This is only a short walk up to the spring. Manatee Springs is one of the nicest springs that we passed. Inside they have a real nice little sandy area to pull your canoe up. This is a sheriff's boys group that passed us on the river at Big Shoals about 150 miles back. Manatee Springs was their destination, and they're sure having a ball. This bright blue area is where the spring comes up. After that, the spring is crystal clear and really cold. It flows at 9 million gallons a day. The picnic grounds are clean, well maintained. The restrooms are clean. They got good facilities, lots of picnic tables, and a snack bar. All the springs we visited, this was the prettiest. We also ate lunch here and enjoyed one of their strawberry sundaes, which was great. In leaving Manatee Springs, we just almost didn't even have to paddle at all. The flow of the current is moving us right along. And at 109 million gallons a day, that's a pretty good flow. But all we're doing is just keeping it straight. We decided to get a little footage of these lily pads just below Manatee. This is the first one we've seen. Listen to what happens as we go through this open patch of water here. We surprised a big bass. About 15 miles before the Gulf, we stayed at Yellow Jacket Campground. Their hot showers were sure welcome. This old turkey that you'll see coming up in a minute kept coming into camp, and we kept running him out. They had all kinds of stuff. They had ducks, geese, peacocks, horses, dogs, roosters, parrots, you name it. They had their own menagerie. Well, this is our last day on the river. We're leaving Yellow Jacket. We're 2 miles from Fowler's Bluff, which is our last pit stop. We've got about 15 more miles to go to the Gulf. See how wide the river is here. And it's just beautiful morning, just like glass. No breeze. This is the famous Fowler's Bluff in your history books. It was the hidden base camp of the pirate Gasparilla. They have a real nice grocery store at the top of the ramp. And the mileage sign here is incorrect. It's actually 5 miles shorter than what it shows to the city of Suwannee. On the right is a large island here just south of Fowler's Bluff called Turkey Island. As the river widened, the wind seemed to increase, making it a little more difficult to paddle. But it was a beautiful day and we were having a ball. South of Fowler's Bluff, the river not only widens, but it deepens, so we begin to see a lot of the larger boats coming in. Beautiful day. Here we've got about 3 more miles to go to the town of Suwannee. In Suwannee, you'll be pulling out at Miller Marine. To find the entrance there, look for the American flag to the left of the canal, then follow the sign. Coming downriver, this is what you'll see. This is the town of Suwannee. The canal runs off to your right down to the marina, and watch for this sign at the entrance. Your pull-out ramp here is behind the big white building, which is the marina office. You go around the left side of the building and it's right behind it. Well, we made it. 2 weeks and 2 days, 213 miles. We're all sorry the trip was over and agreed we'd like to do it again. By the way, like as I said earlier, the ramp's immediately behind the left side of the building. I hope you've enjoyed the trip. We did our best to show you as much of the river as possible without boring you, and I'd be pleased to hear your comments.